Spice. All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. Got to go to going to the Nike Coach of the Year clinic in Orlando this weekend, so I figured it'd be a good time to jump on Thursday night. Hopefully, there's not too much else going on out there. Super Bowl weekend coming up, so obviously, if you're a football fan, a big weekend of football. But I figured tonight would be a good chance to jump on, get on live. There's no other football going on. There's nothing else really out there going on a Thursday night. So going to be away for the weekend, going to be at the Nike Coach of the Year clinic. Hopefully catch a couple good speakers. Hopefully pick something up, something that we can learn, something that we can take back. Whether it doesn't matter if it doesn't have to be a scheme. It can be a tip. It can be a philosophy. It can be a coaching point. It can be a buzzword. It can be, really anything you want it to be, as long as you learn something, when you go to a clinic. That's really what it's all about, right? So trying to pick up anything you can possibly pick up. Obviously, a couple big names there. Kirby Smart's there. Lane Kiffin's there. Mel Tucker's there. Gus Malzahn's there. So anytime you go to a Nike Coach of the Year, obviously contractually, Nike schools are going to bring in their big name coaches. So obviously you're going to get some big names there. Now that doesn't always mean good football, but it's a weekend to get away. There's 8 or 9 of our staff members going, so it should be a good time. So with that going on this weekend, I figured Thursday night, don't have school tomorrow. Get up early and drive down to Orlando for the clinic. So figured Thursday night would be a good night. There's nothing else going on. Super Bowl weekend's coming up. Get a chance to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. I've never been, at least in the 25 or 24 years I've been coaching football, I've never been the biggest fan of the NFL. Always because I never thought there was a translation between their game and our game at the level that we're at. Obviously, schemes are schemes, film is film. It's the best football on the planet by far. There's no doubting that. But I never really saw the correlation between the two games. I always thought college was such a closer entwined game to what we're trying to do in high school. And obviously everything trickles down, right? So, or sometimes trickles up. So, but an interesting matchup. I'm starting to watch a little bit more NFL football from a schematic standpoint with, the last, 6, 8, 10 years, maybe a lot more dual threat quarterbacks getting involved in the league. Guys starting to carry more quarterback runs, more read game, more RPOs than I've seen in the past. So I'm starting to, look a little bit more in NFL football. Obviously, the Super Bowl is, if you're a football fan, it's or if you're, anybody in general, the Super Bowl is a pretty big spectacle. So, kind of figured everybody would be watching it. Most of the people that watch this channel will probably be watching the Super Bowl. So, kind of interested to see what the Eagles do with Jalen Hurts. I think their offense is more conducive to a high school setting than probably a lot of the NFL offenses that are out there, using Jalen Hurts in read game, using Jalen Hurts in quarterback run game, moving the pocket with him, using him, in some RPO deals. And then, the Chiefs are obviously extremely dynamic on offense, very good offensive team. Andy Reid's one of the best offensive minds to ever coach the game. There's no doubt about that. I think their game is more NFL-based, less high school football orientated, as far as us as coaches trying to look at things and study things. But I definitely think there's a lot of things you can look at formationally, where they use Travis Kelce, how they move him around from spot to spot. A lot of condensed, a lot of bunch. Just a lot of things that we could probably look at in a high school game. I don't think we can look at the straight X's and O's of what the Chiefs do. But I think philosophically, there's a lot of things there that the Chiefs are doing formationally. And again, moving Travis Kelce around and, the different release points of Patrick Mahomes and what he's able to do with the football. We're not going to have that kid in high school. If you do, God bless you. I think he's generational. I think his release points and how and where he gets rid of the football are generational. You don't see it that much. There's not a ton of guys like that in the NFL. Certainly not a ton of guys like that in college, and not a ton of guys like that in high school. Not much in the design run game or the read game from Kansas City. That's not really their deal. But I think there's a bunch of spacing concepts, a bunch of choice concepts with Kelsey, and definitely a bunch of jet sweep stuff, Kadarius Toney, and trying to get the ball to some other guys. How they use Jerick McKinnon, I think, is pretty interesting. I think at the high school level, that's something we should be looking at. I think a lot of us have a player like that coming out of the backfield, somebody who's a very good running back, but also a very good receiver, maybe undersized a little bit. And then how they use Pacheco in the downhill run game. Again, Andy Reid's about as good as it gets offensively. If you wanted to study somebody philosophically, schematically, I don't think you can go wrong with Andy Reid. Offensively, I'll be looking more at what the Eagles are doing. I think what the Eagles do with Jalen Hurts is definitely more conducive to what we do at our level in our game. So anytime I'm going to watch a game, I think the toughest thing about coaching football is you almost lose your ability to watch the game as a fan. I don't think I've watched a game as a football fan in 20 some odd years now. Whether it's Alabama playing or the Jags playing, or when I was growing up, I was a Dolphins fan. So when I first started coaching football before I moved to Jacksonville, I was a Miami Dolphin fan. And since I've been coaching football, I don't think if I've watched any of those teams play that I've really been truly a fan. I think when you start coaching, you kind of lose that aspect. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have teams that we root for, but our ability to watch the game as purely a fan kind of fades, and you find yourself as a coach constantly looking at schemes, constantly looking at techniques and fundamentals, constantly looking at coaching management and how coaches manage games, looking at timeouts, looking at 2-minute, 4-minute situations. At least I do. I don't know how the rest of y'all feel, but I find myself constantly trying to look at the game as if I'm trying to learn something. And that's a little bit of a downside, in my opinion. I wish I could go back and just watch games as a football fan. But unfortunately, nature of the beast and the business we're in, it's kind of hard to do that. So, most of the time, if I do look at games, especially in the NFL, I'm going to look at them either all 22 or anything I can get my hands on after the fact, because I think live football games as a coach, trying to watch schemes and fundamentals and techniques and see how people are attacking on offense and see what the answer is on defense. I think sometimes live, that's tough to see. I think you need the different camera angles. I think you need the ability to pause some things and slow them down. When you're trying to look at it philosophically, at least, or when you're trying to look at it from a standpoint of, hey, I'm watching this to try and get better as a football coach. I'm trying to watch how the best guys in the league do the things they do, because there's no question it's the highest, it's the highest coaching acumen to me in the game of football. It's the best of the best. If you can make it and survive there, you're probably going to be able to make it anywhere. I think sometimes the college game is still Jims and Joes a little bit more than maybe X's and O's. I think the NFL game is so even across 32 rosters, and the difference between the best in the league and the worst in the league is so minute. A couple positions here and there, maybe some depth, definitely who's taking snaps and who the signal caller is 100% in the NFL. But, to me, that's the ultimate coaching. That's where you have to be on top of game plans. That's where you have to be on top of adjustments. That's where you have to be on top of clock management. You have to understand the analytics of decision making. So the NFL, obviously, as a coach, is the epitome of what we do, right? Again, I've never thought the NFL game translates to us, but now I think the game is getting closer. I think even defensively, it's getting closer to what we do. Lighter boxes, some different front orientations that are in there. I think more, starting to see, at least in my opinion, a little bit more zone-based stuff. And again, it's different in the NFL a lot of times. You will see, you'll still see quarters. You'll still see middle of the field open. You'll still see Tampa 2. But for a while, when I watched the NFL, a lot of the zone stuff was spot drop, vision and break. Extremely gifted athletes that can cover a lot of ground, that are able to drop the spots and still cover people down without such huge throwing windows. There was a while where I watched the NFL in my early career, probably I would get, 2000 to 2010-ish or somewhere around there. First 10 years of my head coaching career. I thought the NFL was mostly a man-based game. I thought the NFL was mostly one high, and it didn't really translate to what I was trying to do. So I kind of drifted away from the NFL for a while. But obviously Super Bowl weekend, you're a football coach. It's a big deal. So I will be watching the game somewhere, probably at home. Don't have a dog in the fight. Don't really care about the result. Honestly, I would like to see the Eagles win because I'm an Alabama fan. So seeing Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and would be would be a feather in the cap as an Alabama fan. But again, really no dog in the fight. Don't really care what the result is. Would like to see a good game. Would like to see something competitive. But I'm probably, if I watch it live, I'm going to try and enjoy the game. But I'll probably be looking at how the Chiefs are doing things formationally on offense and how they're trying to scheme some things up to get their big boy defensive lineman freed up. What they're doing with the front to see if they can get the center to turn a certain way and get him one-on-one matchups. I think he's as good as anybody in the league. What the Eagles are going to do on offense with Jalen Hurts and how they're going to attack the Chiefs on defense. And, those will be things that as coaches we can always look at. I think we can always, anytime we watch a game, especially at that level, I think we can always gain something from it. I don't know if schematically it matches up with what we do, but I definitely think there's something out there as a coach to gain. And there's no more college. There's no other games going on. So this is our last opportunity to watch some live football for probably 7 months or till, end of August, beginning of September, or whenever college football kicks off. And then when the NFL season kicks off again. So, again, last chance to watch something on defense. We're watching the run game of the Eagles and eating too much food. Yeah, probably eating too much food. I'll be looking at all of it, obviously the run game stuff and seeing, what transfers over to us. I think the Eagles are more conducive to us in high school, probably with some read game and some quarterback run game. I think the Chiefs are brilliant on offense. Again, Andy Reid is as good as it gets, in my opinion. I just don't know how much of that we can really do. I definitely think we can steal from the Chiefs formationally. I definitely think we can steal from the Chiefs with intermediate passing game, spacing game, how they get Kelce open, the option routes that they give him, how they're building all their formations around him to get the matchups they want. I definitely think that's something we can look at the high school level. How the Eagles answer Kelce. I watched, as a Jag fan, you watch games and I watched the playoff game, and to me, Kelce's still the best player on that team, especially with Tyreek Hill leaving and everybody else in the receiving core revolves around Travis Kelce. And we're in the second round of an AFC playoff game, and he's got 10 catches at halftime. To me, that's just either hats off to Andy Reid and what the Chiefs do, or just really poor planning on the Jaguars side. Because to me, if I'm going in that game, I'm taking Kelce away first. You're going to beat me with Scantling. You're going to beat me with Kadarius Toney. You're going to beat me with McCole Hardman or some of those other guys. But I'm going to try and take Kelce out of the game. I mean, I think that logically is a game plan deal that even as a fan, I think I can look at and say, all right, what are we going to do? All right, we're going to take Kelce out of the game. Mahomes is going to have to throw to somebody else. So philosophically looking at the game, obviously there's going to be some things we can learn from it. I always think anytime you're watching NFL games, if you have the ability to watch as a fan, it's great. If not, I look more at the management side. I look at the clock management side. I look at the analytics of when they go for it. I think the NFL has changed in that standpoint a little bit. I think the analytics and the evaluation of analytics now are a bigger deal. I think NFL teams are now going for it more on fourth down. I think they're playing the analytics on third down a lot more. Defensively, I think you're seeing some of the theories that match up in what we're trying to do. I think you're seeing some lighter box theories. I think you're seeing some different fronts trying to get one-on-one matchups with their best pass rushers. I still think the NFL game is an 8-man box predominantly. That's just my opinion. There is some middle of the field open. There is some lighter boxes that have been prevalent the last couple of years. But, if you're going to watch NFL defenses, I think watching blitz packages is always a very unique thing to kind of look at and study. I don't know if we have the athletes that they do to be able to drop and pop out from the places that they drop and pop out from. I think the NFL passing game is so much more predictable in where the hot throws are, where the vision or at least the side adjust theories, if you want to look at them that way. I think by formation, what they do to blitzes, I think is a little bit more predictable. So I think when defensively, one of the things you can definitely look at as a coach is how these teams pressure. how they're trying to generate pressure, what matchups they're trying to get, how they're trying to free up their best pass rusher to get one-on-ones, and then how they try to dictate coverage and pop out. Again, I don't know if we have the guys at the high school level. I'm not really sure if we have the players that can pop out at, whether it be linebackers or D linemen that can do some of the things that these NFL guys can do. But I think we can look at the philosophy of it. I think we can look at the theory of it and try and figure out, okay, look, here's what they're trying to do. They're presenting these looks. They're trying to get the center of the turn a certain way. They want the back matched up in protection on somebody. You get a lot of the mug looks and the double-A mug looks, and the NFL answer a lot of times seems to be walking a back up into the A-gap to provide, immediate protection for the quarterback, which on defense, I think that's a win. Once he's up there, he's in protection. The protections you're getting. He's usually up in an A-gap away from the side. The center is going to turn. So when you do go to pop out from your mug looks, I think you already, it gives those linebackers a predetermined feel for, all right, I'm popping out because the center's going that way. The back is here to pick me up. I'm going to pop out. I think it lets your edge players, if you're running peel pressure stuff or trying to get extra blitzers in while still playing a post safety like a lot of the NFL teams do. Now your edge guys don't have to worry about peeling. If the back walks up and he's a yard behind the offensive line in the A-gap, he's not releasing wide. He's probably not getting out on checkdowns. He's in there to protect those looks. So, to be honest, Philly, if you could get two off the edge away from the slide, obviously, if they're going to full slide, the back's got to be involved in the protection. The rules for us where I am in Florida, NFHS rules, the backs can't cut. So if we could try and dictate which way they were going to slide, obviously they'll probably full slide away from the back, or if it's 11 or 20 personnel, maybe they can put it back on each edge and it's harder to determine. But I would try and get two off the edge from the side away from the slide. If I couldn't do that, I would try and at least get somebody freed up away from the slide, try and eat up the slide protection so that I can get somebody on the back, because anybody that's coached high school football, using a back end protection on D linemen and linebackers is really, it's really a mismatch. I don't think any of us spend enough time in pass protection with our backs. When we full slide and we can't cut the edge, I love the philosophy as an offensive coach. We full slide on play action passes. I definitely use the schematic, but it's a pain in the ass now when you got to put a tailback on an edge rusher or a linebacker. So if I knew I was going to get full slide stuff, I would definitely attack away from the slide and try and get at least one. If I could get two on the back, that would be great. The presentation of how we're going to do that, I think, becomes a little bit more difficult. If we can determine whether they slide to the boundary or slide to the field, obviously they're going to slide probably away from the back, but some teams are good enough to slide, put the back offset, slide, and bring the back across. So I don't think you can truly predetermine where you're bringing the pressure from. But to me, against full slide, getting at least one on the back would be a matchup I think that's advantageous for us. I'm a soft press guy. I'm a motor man guy. The places I've been, the corners I have are not really aggressive jump press or jump set guys. Haven't really been long at the corner position at most of the places I've been at. So we are an inch back motor man team. I like it because I think nowadays a lot of releases from wide receivers. Not a knock on social media because I live in a social media world, but when I watch a lot of the things I see in the social media world, it's receivers making a lot of unnecessary moves at the line of scrimmage. I played receiver in college. The number one goal is I've got to get into my route with the least amount of obstruction or, deviation from my stem. The quicker I can do that, the better. The quarterback has X amount of time to throw the ball. The ball's, all passing game is timing and rhythmic based. And, he's only upright on his feet for so long. So the more I do at the line of scrimmage, I think the worse it is. If you can get a guy to do multiple things at the line of scrimmage without going downfield, I think you've already rerouted him. That's just a philosophy myself personally. So if we motor an inch back and we can get guys to, pause at the line of scrimmage and do all the other things that they're doing nowadays at the line of scrimmage, I think that's a win for us. I kind of go by the philosophy of no hand, one hand, two hand jam. So if a guy releases outside of my framework, I'm not even going to try and get a hand on him. I'm going to get into the hip pocket and get into coverage. right away. If a guy is within my framework, which to me is my shoulder width, I'm going to try and get one hand on him. If he releases inside my hips and not my wingspan, but inside my hips and shoulders, I can try and get two hands on him. So we are definitely an inch back motor man team, and we kind of live in a world of no hand, one hand, two hand jam. That's just kind of what we do now. As I get returning corners, I did it last year with a 10th grade kid that was shorter, but a very good player, very smart, a kid that you can experiment with and do some things with, good spatial awareness, has a really good understanding of his body and space. We started to jump set a little bit more later in the season because we were such an inch back motor man team that we started to mix in some jump set, jump press, aggressive press looks off of our motor man technique, because I think as a receiver myself, the more you change up your technique, now the more it's guesswork for me at the line of scrimmage. So if you're an inch back motor man team, every time you line up, I know you're going to inch back, so I don't waste my time at the line of scrimmage. I know I can get into the first two steps of my route before I initiate my release, because I know that you're inch back. If you inch back one play, aggressive jump set me the next play, now I've really got to figure out my releases on the fly. So if I could change techniques, that would be the best. And then if I could play man from either catch or off in man settings, to me, carrying all those tools in the toolbox, inch back motor man, jump set or aggressive press techniques, off man, catch man, every one of those techniques in the toolbox is better if you can pull that off. So, yes, sir, Joseph, I will be at the Nike Coach of the Year Clinic. I thought I was going to get a chance to speak at it. I had a guy reach out to me 2 months ago. You're welcome, Patrick. I had a guy reach out to me and ask me if I'd like to speak. And I told him, yeah, what do you want me to speak on? And he said it was actually an opponent of ours in a game we lost 32-31. So it was the offensive coordinator of that game. And, so it was nice for him to reach out and say, hey, what you guys did was really a pain in the neck. And can you speak on tight three high stuff? And, I've spoken at Glacier clinics before, had my own clinic 2 years ago. I spoke at that one. So I don't mind speaking at clinics. It's actually fun. It gives me a chance to get up there and talk ball. Like as a coach, when I go to clinics, I can't stand 15 minutes of introductions. I'm not looking at a clinic, at least. I'm not looking for a ton of philosophy stuff. I'm not looking for a bunch of thank you for what you do. I go to a clinic on limited time, limited budget. I'm going to a clinic for ball. I would like guys to rip, tell me who you are. Give me your email and your phone number if I want to contact you, and let's start ripping ball. You got 55 minutes or an hour. Give me 5 minutes of your time to introduce yourself. I probably already know who you are if I'm going to listen to you speak. I probably know your bio. So, to me, that's a pet peeve of mine at clinics. I hate 15 minutes of introductions. I hate 20 minutes of your resume. I don't need to hear how many state championships you won. I'll figure out whether you can coach football or not within the first 5 minutes of your presentation. And to be honest, some of the best speakers I've seen are guys that have no state championships, small college guys. They know how to present at clinics. What they present is more conducive to what we do at high school. So I gravitate towards those guys all the time. But there'll be some big names this week. Obviously, Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, Gus Malzahn, Mel Tucker, like I mentioned earlier. So always good to get in a room with those guys. I'm still in awe. I'm not a rookie anymore. It's not early in my career like it was when I saw Bobby Bowden and Steve Spurrier and was blown away, hanging on every word that they said. Later in my career, I want football. I want scheme. I want something I can take back to my staff for my program. We'll have, I think, anywhere from 7 to 9 of our guys there this week. So we're going to be able to get the whole clinic covered. Probably going to meet up late at night and go over some notes and some other things. So I'm looking forward to it. If you're there, Joseph, if you find me somewhere, I'll have some Play Fast gear on. Or if you find me and you know what I look like, then just come up and introduce yourself. Always always looking forward to meeting Play Fast people out there. And if we can break out and find a room or something at the social and you want to talk ball, then I'm always willing to do that. So for me, Coach Tatum, the big thing is how we protect our tight front three high stuff. I am a base Miami boy. I'm a base quarter half team. That's how we do everything. Everything we do is based out of quarter half. The problem is nowadays with the way offenses play, I don't know true quarter half. I don't know how much we're in it. I would say we're in two read with half techniques on the backside, a bunch. Don't really two read to me, or palms, or how blue, whatever you want to look at it. Cloud, maybe, I don't know what the hell everybody calls it now, but palms or two read to me. That to me is an adaptation of quarters. It's not quarters defense. It's an answer or a tool you carry in your quarters toolbox to handle two removed. We are in that in today's day and age. Two read palms, halves on the other side. We are in that a ton. Quarter, half itself, although that's the way we start everything and that's the way we base quarter, half itself. I don't know how much we're in anymore because I don't know how many sets really present the option to play quarters. For me, at least, the way I look at things. Coach Tatum, getting back to what you were asking, I am investigating how to protect our tight three high. What ways can we protect the C gap away from the Sam linebacker? And then what ways can we protect both C gaps? What changes do we have to make behind it if we're going to play four down? Can we carry four down with three high? Is there a carryover? Can we fit things the same? What are the changes to different formations? That'll be the first thing I'm looking at. Second thing I'm looking at is third down defense, how to present some different looks, some different pressure packages. Really interested in the heavy house blitz presentations, 7 or 8 guys at the line of scrimmage, guys popping out based on protection, trying to match up and find the matchups we want with our best pass rushers is something I'm going to look at. And every year, this time of year, I probably go down the Rip Liz match rabbit hole. I never carry it going into the season. If I carry one high stuff, it's usually spot drop 3 deep. But every year around this time, I kind of investigate it. So I would say protecting our tight front 3 high because that's our base. That's where we hang our hat. B, house blitz, pop out pressures, third down presentations. C, Rip Liz match if I had to give you an ABC of what I will be researching. On the offensive end, I am looking at 2 backs on the same side, Brennan Marion, go-go type stuff. It's interesting to me. It presents a lot of issues for me as a defensive coach. Being able to get 3 out weak, being able to get 4 out strong, carrying 2 back runs, a lot of things that you can carry in your base offense. So that's what I'll be looking at offensively. And then I'll probably be interested in analytically, taking a pro. We use Championship Analytics. We have that program at our school. We have 2 coaches that are responsible for the book every week. As a coordinator, I need to meet with my head coach every week to talk about analytics and how we're using it. We go through our predictions, how many points we think we're going to give up, how many points you think we're going to score, what's the weather, what's the kicking game, rate their kicker, rate your kicker, special teams, all those things. So would probably want to take a look a little bit more at analytics. And then I would say probably outside of that, maybe some man coverage deals, different man techniques, different ways to protect your man coverage, maybe some cut pressures or some cut coverages that are maybe man zone combos. So that's probably my off-season agenda. Always going to look at who's playing 3 high out there. I'm always going to look at Iowa State. I'm always going to look at TCU now, Kansas State. Delaware does a great job with 3 high. There's some 1AA teams. Delaware, Mercer does a little bit with 3 high. Samford does a little bit with 3 high. I think Wofford does some 3 high stuff. So always in my free time trying to find out who's playing 3 high and how they're doing it, what their adjustments are, how they're handling or any odd front teams in general, how they're handling 3-man surfaces, unbalanced sets, because that's what we saw a bunch of this past season, as we got maybe 5, 6, 7 games deep and people realized that we were tight 3 high and people started figuring out how we fit runs and people started figuring out that we don't get out of tight front if you give us tight ends. We make our adjustments with linebackers and secondary. So we started seeing a lot of 3-man surfaces, a lot of unbalanced X over 2 back, a lot of quads, 4x0 2-back sets, a lot of quarterback read run game. So how we defend those is obviously going to be something I look at as well. So probably going to do some research into practice plans. We are heavily thinking about trying not to play 2-way players other than in backup situations. We're trying to go with starters that are on one side of the ball, primarily at our place. I don't think we have enough depth to do it yet, but we want to get that way. Obviously, our goal is, coming off an 8-2 season and one of our, biggest wins in school history, against another school that we have to compete with enrollment because they're a private school also. Building depth, trying to get our roster better. We can't recruit football players, but we can recruit students. So now that we have that win under our belt, district championship under our belt, again, we can't go out and recruit football players in general, but we can try and find kids to come to our school. And now I think we've got some things to hang our hat on that makes it a little bit more provocative for kids to, if they're into the private school setting and that's what the parents want. Obviously, if they want a Catholic education, I think we do it as good as anybody around. We're solid in every sport. Basketball is going to play for a district championship. Girls basketball is going to win it or won a district championship. Our soccer team is in the second round of the playoffs. Our swim team is back-to-back state champions. So I think we're good and well-rounded. So I think we provide a great environment, great campus. So I think we've got to add – our roster needs better numbers as a 5A school or however you want to look at it now in the metro suburban deal. Basically have about 13 or 1,400 students in the school. So I think getting our roster deeper to make that change is something we need to look at. But, definitely going to be researching practice plans and how teams do it with one-way players or two-way players that are predominantly backups. And so that's something I'm going to research as well. So, yeah, Coach Smith, if you find me, look me up, introduce yourself. We can definitely break out at night or at the social and talk. I'm glad to hear that the channel helps other people. That's kind of what it's there for. That's kind of what we do. Yeah, that'll be what I'm researching. Have you guys gone to any clinics yet this year? Have you seen anybody good? Have there been any good speakers that are on the circuit that maybe if I can check out, at any of the Nikes or the Glaziers, is there anybody that's popped out to you? Any good notes that you've taken? I went to the AFCA, but that was more of a business venture and kind of a getaway with me and my head coach to talk about, what we want to do on offense and defense, what we want to do with our roster, philosophically, where we want the program to go. This Nike Coach of the Year will hopefully be a little bit more football orientated. I don't think the schedule is knockdown, drag out, awesome. Again, a lot of big names that I'm interested in seeing because if you get an opportunity to listen to those guys speak, I think you have to take it. I've spoken with Kirby Smart before, recruiting one of my players a couple of years ago at Alabama. Never got a chance to speak to Lane Kiffin, so that would be to hear him and maybe, either introduce yourself or try and speak with him would be great. I think Mel Tucker's great. I would love to meet him, listen to him speak. Malzahn's always interesting. I'm not there are definitely some things we do that are Malzahn-ish. Our spread buck sweep was definitely Malzahn influenced. Not the biggest fan of their passing game, but I'm kind of a fan of his career. Was a guy that was in our shoes years ago and matriculated his way up, maybe because of some good players, maybe a package deal going back to the quarterback that he had. And then when he went to Tulsa and Arkansas and, probably some business moves behind that, but he certainly made the most of them and has done a great job. So I'd be interesting to listen to him. A couple good high school guys out there. I think James Delgado does a great job. I know he's speaking on O-line play. So, hopefully there'll be some good ball this week. Hopefully there'll be a chance to meet some people and interact. Hopefully anytime I go to clinics now, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I wear the Play Fast hat. I'm always looking to find new sponsors. We're kind of down to 5 partners that we use right now. GameStrat, Dome Headwear, which obviously cheap plug, Dome Headwear. GameStrat, Dome, Baker Sporting Goods, which is a local sporting goods company, Just Play, and then Difference USA. Those are kind of the 5 guys that I still do business with. I try to market for, I try to advertise for, but I think Dan Casey's great. Would love to get there. Don't know if we can get to Texas. We're probably more of a Southeast swing. Orlando, Tampa, Atlanta, maybe Charlotte. That's kind of where we get to. So that is great, though. If Dan Casey, I think Dan Casey's great. I think he does a great job. So would be interested to. He was at the AFCA, but he didn't really get too deep into ball, from what I've been told. So would love to see him at a regular clinic where he gets into it. But in the business world, we're always going back. we're always going back to trying to find new partners. Obviously, I want to put content out for you guys. I want to create content. I want to do more things on the YouTube channel. I want to do more things on my Patreon site. I want to do more things, clinics. And, in order to do that, you need financially to be situated. So we're always looking for partners. Again, the YouTube channel is free. Obviously, with where we're at with our numbers and what we do, we're linked into Google advertising. But with the numbers that we draw, Google advertising is never going to be break the bank situation. So we're always looking for partners. So I'll definitely be bouncing around some vendors and seeing anybody that wants to get their product out to more people. I think what we do and you guys being here and the audience that I have, I think it's very demographic based. I think it's a no brainer for companies to advertise with us, but sometimes I have a hard time selling that. So I got to do a better job with that. Any changes with our leverage as far as what, Miami? Our leverage changes based on coverages, based on what we're doing. So I don't really know what leverage you're speaking of. If we're true zero man-to-man, we're inside leverage almost all the time. Yes, we use dividers, but I don't always go straight by divider rules. If we're playing quarters and we're playing man-to-man, it's probably going to be inside leverage. Our safeties are normally, when we're playing two read, we're normally 10 or 11 off, 1 yard inside of number two. When we play quarters, we're normally 8 to 9 off and somewhere inside of number two. Don't play a ton of quarters coverage from outside of number two when we have a vertical responsibility on number two. And then, our 3 deep stuff is pretty much divider based for the corner. But I don't think we're doing anything revolutionary with leverage. I play outside with my corners in 2 read. And thank you, Jamin634. Thank you. When you're playing 2 read or quarters, obviously defending the post is going to be a big deal. I think your 2 read beaters are always going to be some type of post series. We still play to this day with outside leverage with the corners. And that's simply because if I have to play 2 to the flat and we get a bunch of bubble and a bunch of nows and things like that, I want my corner to play with leverage so we can turn the ball back in where it belongs. Again, my corners that I've had have been undersized. If I play them inside to defend post and we get bubbles or nows or things like that, now we've got to be able to beat a block with leverage outside. We need to turn the ball back to where our help is. So I think more teams are wanting to throw the bubble and the now access more than they throw the post. Still don't see a ton of great high school quarterbacks that throw the post. If you're going to be a 2-read team or a Palms team, you better work your ass off on defending the post. One of the things that we do with our corners is as we shuffle out in our 2-read stuff, if 2 is not out and we go to all of 1, we different ways with different players, but some of our guys will shuffle 45 degrees inside to recreate leverage. Some of our guys will shuffle and then run to the post to take away inside leverage or recreate inside leverage. So we do it different ways based on the players that we have. But if you are going to play outside leverage in 2-read, you have to work over and over and over again at defending the post. That throw's coming at some point in the game. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks can make it. I think we close the middle enough to discourage the post. I think 3 high with the position of where our middle safety is discourages post throws. But philosophically wise or philosophically speaking, if you're going to be middle of the field open, you better work on defending the post because it's coming at some point. No, I don't. And again, I'm old school, having played receiver in college 20 some odd years ago, growing up in the day and age of the Steve Largents of the world and the Lynn Swans of the world and the Jerry Rices of the world. I think route running is worse than it was 20 years ago. That's just my opinion. And the reason I think that is because I think the guys are so much more gifted than we were 25 years ago that I think it's a lot easier for them to just do things down the field that we couldn't do. I think the game has become more vertical, back shoulder fade, balls than it used to be. So I personally, if you ask me, I would tell you that I think route running was better 25 years ago than it is now. I think the athletes are 100 times better than they were. When you look at physically who's playing receiver nowadays, I would say that they look a lot different than we did 25 years ago. Not that there weren't great receivers, big receivers 25 years ago, but I think the game has kind of changed. I think there's way more jump balls than they used to be. We never really, at least to my knowledge, 25 years ago, 1986, 87, 88 to 94, when I got done in college, chunk balls down the field, 50-50 balls. I mean, that really wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. I think 50-50 balls for some people are part of the game plan. I think anytime they can get one-on-one with a certain dude, they're fine with throwing 50-50 balls. I'm trying to scheme ways on offense to get guys open. I'm not trying to scheme ways to throw 50-50 balls, but that's the game we play nowadays. And receivers are so incredibly gifted physically, genetically, ability to run, ability to jump, high point balls. And now when you look at recruiting, and anytime I get a kid that's 6 foot or better and he's a good receiver, but he's got a chance to play DB, I always try and steer him in the direction of trying to play DB, because I think 6'1" corners are still Sunday players. If they're talented enough, I think 6'1" receivers have to be absolute freaks to make it to Sunday. Or for our kids, I think to get to the next level of where they want to play, I think a 6'1" kid with good hips and good ball skills, if he plays corner, I think he's got a way better chance than he does if he's playing receiver. And again, that's just me personally. If a kid wants to play receiver, we're going to use him if he's a great receiver, no doubt. I'm not going to tell the kid he can't play receiver, but if he wants constructive criticism and he wants to play at the next level, I'm going to highly suggest he plays corner and learns how to play corner and learns how to play press man and learns how to tackle. Because again, the way I look at the game, 6'1" at corner is still really, really good height on Sunday. 6'1" at receiver, you're an average guy. That's just, you might even be a slot guy nowadays if you're 6 foot or 6'1". That's just what I think personally. Yeah, probably 30-70 Philly, I would agree. But crazy, as crazy as it sounds, I think that's part of people's game plans when they can get guys matched up. It's crazy to me as an offensive guy. I wouldn't be hanging my hat on that, but it's a part of the game. So what's up, proud account owner of whatever account you own? Again, hopefully we'll get some good ball this weekend at the Nike, and then hopefully we'll get a competitive game Sunday night in the Super Bowl. Hopefully there's something that as coaches we can, we can learn from them. Hopefully I would like to see a close game that's got some clock management, some 2-minute offense and defense, some 4-minute offense and defense. I would like to see that, so that as a coach, we can kind of look at those scenarios and figure out why guys are going for it, why they're opting to take timeouts, when they're choosing to take timeouts. I think that's something we can always look at and learn. So Super Bowl, I'm rooting for the Eagles. Personally, I'm an Alabama fan. Would love to see Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith win a Super Bowl. I don't care either way. I have nothing against the Chiefs. I love Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is absolutely phenomenal. I think the Chiefs do a great job on defense. I think the Eagles are more conducive to what we do on offense, at least for me at the high school level. So, again, I mentioned earlier, I think some of the things Patrick Mahomes does are generational, out of this world, release points and throws that he's making. I don't think we have those kids. I think Jalen Hurts is an incredible quarterback. I think he's an incredible player. Obviously, I'm an Alabama fan, so I'm partial to Jalen Hurts. But I think there's also things we can look at schematically that they do with Jalen Hurts that fits what we do. I'm not saying all of us have a Jalen Hurts. I'm saying we have somebody closer to Jalen Hurts than Patrick Mahomes. 100% not a knock on Jalen Hurts. 100% a boost of Patrick Mahomes. I've been watching football a long time. Boomer, I guess he's a Sooner if you want to look at it that way. You took one of our guys that didn't fit the scheme anymore, guys that took the guys that took the high road. And unfortunately, Boomer, that's where the Sooners are at nowadays. You're now taking rejects from other Division I programs. Huge Brent Venables fan. Huge Oklahoma fan. Huge Lincoln Riley fan. No offense, but if you're going to throw out there that Jalen Hurts is a Sooner, I'm going to throw out there that he's a Sooner after a decision that was made to go in a different direction at Alabama. Still an Alabama guy to me. I root for Jalen Hurts. Great kid, great story, phenomenal work ethic. Quarterback that I think is more conducive to what we do. So, and Boomer, I love Oklahoma. Nothing against Oklahoma. So don't take it personal, but if you're going to throw that shot across the bow, I'm going to answer back and let you know that Jalen Hurts is still a Crimson Tide player to me. What is your optimal size and weight for a 0-1 technique versus 3 technique on the defensive line in college? I think it depends on how you play, what matchups you're looking for. Yeah. Best response I can give you in a 10-second. Didn't really get a lot of prep time for that response. But obviously in college, it's a different game. I've never really recruited at that level. I would think that the 0-1 technique for me would be bigger. The 3 technique would, obviously I'm looking for 270, 280 at the 3 technique, but I'm looking for that freak athlete that can rush the passer. I'm looking to get the center to turn away from the 3 technique and get my one-on-one matchups with the guard. So to me, if I was building it, my 0-1 would be the 300, 310-pound guy. The 3 technique would be the 265, 270-pound athlete. And then my edge guys would be in the 245 to 255 range, guys that can rush the passer. Maybe they need to drop. Yeah, I mean, I would – if you told me I had to own a team and start a franchise, I would 100% not go away from Mahomes. I can agree with that. I love Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is a great fit for what we do in Jacksonville. I had to deal with a year last year of people talking about he's not the guy, he's this, he's that. He's the guy to me. He checks every box for me, and I hope we can surround him with some better players. But I'm not outside of Brady. If you're going to argue Mahomes, I couldn't say no. There's no way I could say no to that. Still partial to Dan Marino. I'm a huge Dan Marino guy. If I had to start a franchise, I'd have no problem starting it around him, and hopefully build a better defense than we had 25 years ago. But I wouldn't. If you argue, Josh Allen, yeah, I'd take him too. But if you're going to argue Patrick Mahomes, I'd take him every day of the week. No doubt about it. I think he's a football junkie. I think he loves it. I think he's going to be around for a while. I think he's smart. I think he's smart off the field. So I would start Mahomes. Don't have a problem with Josh Allen. I could definitely build a team around Jalen Hurts the way the Eagles do it. I think you could build a team around Lamar Jackson, but I'm not totally sold on that. Huge fan of what he does in the NFL, though, because that's a team that I would watch over and over again because I think they're about as close to what we do as anybody else. You're welcome, Keith. Thanks for the question. But again, I think there's a lot of different guys out there. I think you can still win. He's older now, but I would have no problem starting a team around Aaron Rodgers. Personally, maybe a little bit of a nut socially, but on the field, I think he's as competitive as good as it gets. I think Herbert, sorry, not Bobby Hebert, but I think Herbert's as good as it gets. I think I could build a team around him. So I could go a bunch of different ways in the NFL. I think quarterback plays pretty good in the NFL right now, personally. And I think that game is driven around quarterback play, so it's got to be. Coach, you play against double wing teams. I love Lamar. I'm a Lamar fan. I think what he does in the NFL is proving people wrong, and I'm all about it. I still don't know if he can take them to the ultimate level. I think he needs help around him personally, but every time Lamar does something, I think it's great for us as high school fans because I think it's closer to how we want to play football, right? That's just my opinion. Owing teams, if so, do you alter defense from a 3-3 stack? We tried to go 5-2, but it was challenging. to teach kids two defenses. I think you could play double wing in the 3-3 stack if that's what you do. Probably going to end up, if it's true double wing and more 8-man front things, probably more one high. I think your two high stuff, you're now got to dictate where you're going to set the Sam or the nickel. And if they're balanced double wing, they're going to attack away from the nickel. So I don't think there's anything wrong with playing 3-3 stack, personally. Have your recent quarterbacks been baseball kids? Yeah, a lot of our quarterbacks have been baseball kids. The kid we have right now at the school that I'm at is a track kid. He's an Iowa commit, probably 6'4", 200 pounds, 10,700 kid. Great athlete, good quarterback. And he's not a baseball kid. Our backup quarterback is a baseball kid. A lot of my best quarterbacks are baseball kids. Usually seems to fit the demographic or the position. Used to get to the Super Bowl, and one Eagles could use for Jalen. I'm joking, but I say that because I see. I mean, I certainly think that there's some validity to that point. I think Cam Newton and Jalen Hurts are. I think Jalen's a better quarterback if you ask my opinion. But again, that's just one man's opinion, a high school football coach's opinion. Very similar in nature, I agree, with their skill set. I think Jalen throws it better, personally. Cam might have had more arm strength, but I think Jalen's a better passer. And I think right now the Eagles have a better team around them than Cam did. Way more designed quarterback runs with Cam probably than with Jalen. So, again, I can see the comparison. I definitely can see how you could link the two and make that comparison. Always been a Cam Newton fan. Again, as a high school coach, I root for guys that play the game the way we would play it with our high school players. I don't have anything against drop back quarterbacks. I don't have anything against pocket passers. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never had that many of them. The kid we got right now is about as good as I've seen, and about as prototypical as I've seen. I've won a ton of games, lost a ton of games with 6'5", 5'11" kids. Seems to be in high school more the norm than it is to have the 6'3", 6'4" kid that's in the pocket passing. Would love to have that kid. Don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think it's a small percentage of what we see in high school. I think the athlete, I think the 5'11" hard-nosed competitor that can run the ball, throws it or spins it well enough to do things that you can do on offense to win games. I think that's the norm. That's just me. And I'm saying that in Florida. I'm saying that in, arguably one of the better football states in the country, top 3, in my opinion. I don't know if we're the best. Maybe skill-wise, we're the best as far as, recruits we produce. I think Texas does a way better job. I think Texas does a better job of what football or high school football should be. Their coaches association, how they approach tackling. And there's just a lot of things Texas do better than Florida. Again, my opinion. But I would say that I've seen a lot of great football and a lot of great football players, and I don't see 6'3", 6'4" pocket passers a bunch. That's just me. So I think that guy's rare. So I would, anytime I can find an NFL guy that matches what we do, I always root for that guy. So hats off to Lamar. I think he's great. I think he's good for the game of football. I think he's smart on social media. I think he's a badass competitor. I think if he does make any mistakes on social media, it's when he kind of takes things personal. But I've never seen a response that I've disagreed with. I've never seen a response that I wouldn't have put out. So I think he's very smart with what he responds to. And I love his passion for what he does. And I hope the Ravens can stay good. It's good for football. It's good for the NFL. And Lamar Jackson playing quarterback is good for us, in my opinion. Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl is good for us. Josh Allen is different. I wouldn't compare him to what we are at the high school level by any means. Trevor Lawrence is different. I don't think he's what we are. Again, those guys that can play the game the way we kind of try to play it in high school and in college, those are the guys I root for because, as a coach, and again, if you weren't here earlier, I lost my ability to watch the football game as a fan. I've lost my ability to just be fanboy and Jag fan and Alabama fan, and I can't do it anymore. My brain doesn't work that way. So as a coach, I'm always going to want to watch things that I think selfishly help me. So those guys playing the way they play, I think helps us. Do I not watch Tom Brady? Yeah, I watch Tom Brady. Do I not watch Aaron Rodgers? Yeah, I watch Aaron Rodgers. Do I not watch, um, the best pocket passers in the game? Yeah, I still watch those guys. I'm still in awe of how they get the ball out of their hand. I'm still in awe of the decision-making process. I just don't think we have those guys year in and year out. I would love to have one every 20 years, but I just don't think it's the norm for me, based on a long career of doing this. So I love the Lamars. I love, obviously, as an Alabama fan, yeah, I'm a Tua fan. Tua is not the runner that these other guys are. He's not. Can you do some read game things with him? Yeah, you can, but that's not really what he does. I think Tua is a thrower. Personally, I think there's still some people that question his arm strength and his ability to make throws down the field in the NFL, but I think he's doing a pretty good job. So, again, NFL wise, that's where I'm going to lean. I wish NFL teams played 3 high. I wish there was more middle of the field open. But it's not the way those guys have to win games. They've got to play football the way they need to play football. So that's not how they're going to play. But I still think there's some things, again, this weekend. I still think, there's still some things we can look at. How they use receivers in the run game, I think, is huge if you want to study NFL football. Obviously, the body types they have are different than ours, but so much escort motion, so many theories where receivers are involved in the run game, whether it's protecting for a quarterback in the read game or push cracking and blocking linebackers in the duo world, from the compressed and bunch set world. I think receivers in the run game should be something that any of us look at. It's something that I want to study. It's something that if I had enough time to just go off on a tangent and study something just for the sake of studying the theory of it, receivers in the run game in the NFL would certainly be something I would look at. Quarterback boots and keepers would be something that I'd be interested in looking at. So those are the things that for me as a high school coach, I would be looking at. Cause again, my mindset is I got to get better. I want to be better as a coach. So anytime I watch things, I'm trying to learn. So I've never really done a deep dive on Fangio. I know his name is hot as could be. If you're a Dolphin fan, obviously, if he signed that contract already, then I don't follow it enough. But I know the last week or so, everything I've read is the Dolphins are trying to get Fangio, and it's a huge number. I don't study enough of what he does. I know a little bit about it. Maybe that's something I should look at. Maybe do a YouTube video on it. I don't know, but I just don't. I don't follow the NFL enough to know truly. I would lie to you if I sat here and told you I know enough of what Fangio does. I do know this: when I do research NFL stuff, I know that there's a ton of Fangio trees out there. Brandon Staley, when he was with the Rams, and now as the Chargers coach, he's a Fangio guy. I think Fangio's coaching tree is huge in the NFL. But I'd be lying to you if I tried to answer that question and say that I love what he does or I know what he does. I don't. And again, I don't think I could really honestly sit down and tell you what one NFL defensive coordinator does. I just don't study the NFL that way. Now I'm leaning that way. I'm progressing that way. Because I think there are some things that are kind of coming down, funneling up from high school and college to the NFL. And when I think it's really more conducive, I will study it more. Maybe that's something I'll do, Miami. I don't know. I don't do a lot of reviews. I don't do a lot of, but again, one of the things I mentioned on the 10-year anniversary live was content creating is difficult. Coming up with videos is difficult. So the only reason I don't go down that rabbit hole, sorry for my cat. The only reason I don't go down that rabbit hole is because there's guys out there that do that already, and they do a really good job with it. If I did it, it would be my style. So I would study it and then I would probably break it down to you on a whiteboard the way I always do it. There's so many really good guys out there that have access to film and um, how they use the film and how they draw over and voice over the film and the guys that do PDFs and presentations. There's so many um, really, really good guys in the social media realm doing that already that I tried to stay away from that because A, it's out there already. B, I think those guys are really good at it. And I don't know if I would be. It's just not my gig. But oh, you would love my house then, Philly. I don't even want to tell you the number that are roaming around this house. It's insanity. But if I were to study something and to look at something, I would try and do it justice. So I don't know. I don't know how I would approach that. Obviously, I could study it and look at it and research it and give you my take on YouTube Live or on a YouTube video, but I don't think that's really good enough. But I don't know. I don't know how else I would approach it. I'm not an all 22 guy. I'm not a screenshot. I'm not a screen capture guy. To be honest with you, I don't even know how to do that shit. It's kind of sad. I think a lot of people think that as a YouTube guy that you're maybe technologically sound, but I don't know crap about technology. Trying to do a podcast with my head coach that we've been talking about for a month now, the two-man vice, studying and researching schemes, and then two guys just kind of shooting the shit on a podcast about schemes and what we like about certain offenses. We already have the first offense. Kansas State's already picked out. We already have the film we've studied. But between the two of us, we can't figure out how to edit and produce the damn thing. So it's a shame to say that. I've looked into Riverside. I think that's the platform I would use. I don't know anything about Audacity. I don't know what else is out there, but yeah, maybe. If there's something I can learn from the XFL, I'll watch it. I think that's where I am in my life right now. Like my precursor to whether I'll watch something or not is not my entertainment. I'll watch something if I think it helps me coach football. And it sucks. I didn't want to be that way. I never wanted to become that way. I think I've mentioned this a million times, and I think every one of you know, if I want entertainment, I'm going to watch wrestling. That's me. If I want pure entertainment, that's what I'm going to watch. If I want ball, I'm going to watch college and NFL, but I want ball. If I'm going to watch the XFL, I need ball to be there. I need to look at some stuff and say, hey, hell yeah, we can do that. And that's just me. From an entertainment standpoint, I would watch it if I was a fan. I think it's cool. I think as a football guy, anytime you can get football when we don't get it, normally in that 6-month lull where every one of us absolutely loses our mind, hell yeah, I'd watch it. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to watch it for the entertainment purposes, but if it's good ball, I'll watch it to try and learn something 100%. Belichick runs coverage with 3 different doubles on their best 3 wide receivers at a 0 application in high school. Yeah, Philly, to be honest with you, I think there's some of his one rat or his one double stuff. I think we could probably take that and tweak it and use it sporadically in certain situations. But the multiple adjustments they have to who they're doubling and then formationally and motions and all that nonsense, like how the hell they do it, I don't know. They're better than me. They're really good at it. And I've never really gone, and again, this is probably blasphemy as an Alabama fan. I've never really gone down a rabbit hole of Belichick or Saban because I think they're just in another world. I think they're that good. And I don't think I could do what they do. I don't think the schools I've been at could do what they do. Oh yeah, leverage 100%. How they find those matchups and find a way to match it up with the right leverage and how they get those guys do that. Like I just think that's another world to me. And I choose to not go down that rabbit hole because I just don't think I can do it. I don't think, could I do it if I gave myself enough time? Yeah, I think so. Could I teach it to staff members? Probably not. Could our kids do it? Probably not. So I just kind of shy away from that because I don't think there's carryover for us. I study enough of it because I'm an Alabama fan. I mean, hell yeah, I want to know what they're doing, but there's a million people out there that could tell you more about what Saban does than I could, even though I'm an Alabama fan, because I don't spend my time there because it's just, I think even to me personally, the shit I read on Saban and Belichick and it's like it's over my head. And I'd like to think that I'm pretty good at football. I'd like to think I'm pretty knowledgeable schematically. I'd like to think that I can adapt to a lot of things out there, and the stuff they're doing is over my head. I don't even understand half of it, and the terminology is bizarre. You know, the adjustments and the multiple things that they're doing on the fly is just bizarre, I think they're idiot savants. I think they're every bit as good as people say they are. I think they should probably get more credit for what they do. And my hat's off to them for the careers that they've had. But I should, even as an Alabama fan, I can't grasp it. I can't understand it. There's so many checks. It's so personnel based and matchup based that I choose not to go there. So, you know, I love it. I love both of them. As a football coach, I think they're as good as it gets. But I can't, I don't think I grow much from that is what I'm trying to say. So I go back to Iowa State now, TCU, Kansas State, Delaware. I go back to 3 high. I go back to what I think can make me better. So this is my opinion, Joseph, and this is opinion only. If it's man free, I don't think RPOs are a deal personally. I think if you're seeing man free, you should get into the play action world. There is no conflict player. If a guy is in coverage man to man and he doesn't necessarily have a run fit, there is no conflict. So to me, and again, my opinion, philosophically, what I believe in, RPOs are zone based deals. RPOs are based off of guys having to play a certain responsibility in the pass game while also having a run fit. As soon as you get into man coverage or man free, RPOs for me go right into play action passes, and let's design man beaters for play action passes. If we do have RPOs called versus man, they're probably going to end up being access or advantage throws where we take away from the RPO side, we take our access throws and try to win one-on-one over there. If I knew I was going to get a bunch of man or man free, I would carry more play action passes that could beat man free. I would carry more formations or picks, things, you know, condensed sets or bunch sets that can get me some picks and some rubs. Cover 2, I wouldn't change much of what we do. I don't know how much glance we would carry into cover 2 if the safety's always high. But if it's an apex defender, we're going to throw stick, we're going to throw spot, we're going to throw snag, we're going to throw things that, you know, my philosophy in any of the videos that you've watched me do on RPOs, if I am conflicting a defender that has a certain pass responsibility, my goal is to then throw a route that takes up the space that he's leaving. I think RPO's got kind of, and not to, don't take this the wrong way if there's anybody out there that does this, but, you know, 15, 20 years ago, 3-3 stack stuff, when you went to clinics, it was 900 blitzes on napkins, and it was how you can send pressure from 90 million places. And I was never really into that, even though we have played 3-3 stack and we're now a broken stack team. I never got into let's blitz from every angle. And I feel the same way about RPOs. I think when RPOs started catching fire, they got so crazy that everybody got really just completely out of hand with the route combinations that they were running. And to me, simplistically, the RPOs are very simple. There's a guy that's conflicted. He's got a run fit and a pass coverage. If he fits the run, let's throw the ball in the coverage he left. I don't know if that's archaic. I don't know if that's caveman-like. I don't know if that's Neanderthal-like. I don't know if that's too rigid, all things that I've heard people say about what we try to do on offense. But I think if you're really living in an RPO world where I'm reading a guy, so like if you were running triple option football and you had a dive key that you were reading and he squeezed the dive and the quarterback kept it, the quarterback doesn't keep it and run into the area that the dive player is playing. The quarterback keeps it and runs to the space made available by the dive key playing the dive. I mean, that's kind of what option football is, right? So I don't know why we would take the RPO world and come up with a million route combinations that don't really attack the space that the conflicted defender left, if that makes sense. So I would agree with that, Philly, 100%. We are not a true cover two team. We carry it, and we carry Tampa 2 from 3 high in passing downs. We will play a bunch of inverted 2 to the single. We will play traditional 2 into the boundary. But I agree with you with where the hash marks are in high school, to play cover 2 to the field, true cover 2 and support runs, I think is really, really tough to do. I think if you're playing cover 2 teams, those apex defenders, I still think they're conflicted, but to me, I want to attack single side drop down safeties or support players and with my single receiver, and I want to go to the 2-man side and attack the overhang that has a fit that he's tied to. I would think if you're playing true cover 2, there's probably more stunts up front that you're running to get the ball to bounce out to where you need it. If you're playing true cover 2, your apex defenders had better try and get hands on 2 vertical because you have seam integrity issues. If we're talking about old school cover 2, when you play 2 read, you don't have seam integrity issues because if 2's vertical, you know he's going to be played man to man. If 1's vertical, he's going to be played man to man. If you play with a jam funnel corner, he has got to do a really good job beating the crap out of 1 and rerouting him inside. And then I think in the true cover 2 world, your wall defenders have to really try to get hands on 2. So I think they've got to be further removed. So if I was seeing what I thought was true cover 2, I would probably just run the ball and not carry as many RPOs, but that's just me. But been over an hour and a half now, guys. Actually got to pack some stuff to get ready for this clinic. Good luck watching the Super Bowl. I hope you have a great time. I hope everybody stays safe and stays healthy. Appreciate all the comments tonight. Absolutely outstanding. Again, I know that nobody believes this when I say it, but I learn as much hosting YouTube Live and listening and reading comments as I do me presenting information. So again, thanks for being here. Hopefully your team or whoever you're rooting for wins the Super Bowl. Hopefully we all get smarter, not dumber, after watching the Super Bowl. Coach Smith or anybody else that's out there. No, Philly, thanks for your time. Thanks for you guys being here. I choose when I want to go on live, and it's you guys that make it happen. So, Coach Smith, look me up in Orlando tomorrow, Saturday, whenever you're there. I'll be wearing either Play Fast stuff or Bishop Kenny. If you see a BK logo in red, white, and black, look for that because I'll either be wearing Bishop Kenny or Play Fast stuff probably. So if anybody's in Orlando, look me up. If you guys are going to any clinics or you've been to any clinics, shoot me a message or leave me a comment on YouTube Live. On any of our YouTube stuff, or maybe the next time we go on live. I would love to hear speakers you've heard from, speakers that were really good, anything you got that was beneficial. I would love to share that or have you guys share that with us. So hopefully we get a good game for the Super Bowl. Hopefully everybody has a good time. Don't eat too much. Don't drink too much. If you do drink too much, get yourself a driver, Uber, wherever you're going. And let's pray for a competitive game. And hopefully we get a game with 2 healthy quarterbacks and something that we can build off of and learn from. So thanks for everything you guys do for Play Fast Football. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being subscribers. Thanks for getting us to where we are 10 years in. And thanks for being here tonight. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Me and Spice, come here, girl. We will see you next time. Thanks for being here.